Hello and welcome along to Taking the Biz. This is a channel with resources for A-level business students. If you haven't already, definitely think about subscribing for updates as new tutorials become available in the lead up to your examinations. In this tutorial, we're going to analyse the topic of training. We're going to have a look at the different types of training that businesses might invest in, and we're also going to try and analyse the costs and benefits of training as a human resource tool. So the first thing to investigate is why businesses might like to try and train their employees. Now, obviously they might wish to train their employees in the hope of increasing productivity. Maybe they're looking to improve the training of their staff in order to try and improve quality, maybe improve customer service. Maybe they're looking to train their employees to perhaps give them the skills they need to use some new technology that the business might be introducing, or to get used to new ways of working that the business has recently adopted. But businesses will have different aims or different reasons that they're trying to train their staff. But when they do train them, there's three different types of training that the business might provide. The first is what's known as induction training, and is training that's given to employees that are new to the organisation in order to try and help them to settle into the new role that they have begun. So typically induction training will involve familiarising employees with the business's policies, with its working practices, familiarise the new recruit with the colleagues that they're going to be working with, perhaps giving them time working alongside their line manager, or a chance to first meet their subordinates that they're going to be in charge of. Induction training might also familiarise new recruits with the business's health and safety procedures as well. And it might even give the new recruits time in the different departments or functions of the business, so they get to develop a broader understanding of how the organisation operates. But induction training is for employees that are recent arrivals to the business. But employees that might be a little bit more experienced and have been with the organisation slightly longer might also require updates to their skills, or the business might require them to develop new skills in order to adapt to how the business is looking to operate. And when we're trying to develop these skills in our employees, there's two different ways that we might train them. What are known as off-the-job and on-the-job training initiatives. So on-the-job training is training that takes place at the employee's place of work inside the organisation. And typical methods of on-the-job training might include things like providing employees with a mentor, so somebody that they can turn to as a support network that can answer questions or queries or pass on expertise or skills, so that when employees are looking to develop, they might be able to do so from learning from a mentor inside the organisation that already has the skills that the business is looking to instill in one of their additional employees. As an extension to this, another on-the-job training method is what's known as work shadowing. And this involves employees actually spending time working alongside a more experienced colleague, observing the work that they do in the hope that they can develop the same techniques or working practices or experiences of another employee in the organisation. Now, on-the-job training is very popular with organisations because it doesn't have as high a cost attached to it as our other type of training, which is known as off-the-job training. Training that takes place away from the employee's place of work. So what's crucial to understand about off-the-job training is that the employees are not actually doing work whilst they're receiving this training. They're away from their place of work. So typically this might involve studying for qualifications, maybe completing college or university courses. It might even involve attending conferences or seminars hosted by external training providers, where they will get to learn new skills and learn about new working practices that they can bring back to the organisation. Now, a common exam question is for us to be asked to analyse the strengths and limitations of investment in training. And if we go through the benefits, first of all, they mirror the aims that businesses are trying to achieve through training their employees. We could write about how training might potentially boost productivity, might eventually lead to better quality or better customer service inside the organization. We can talk about how it might actually be a motivational tool for businesses to use as they look to increase the morale of their workforce, because employees might really appreciate feeling invested in and feeling like the business is spending time developing them as an employee. So there's some really strong business benefits to training our workforce. But there are costs as well, and we need to know these costs to provide balance in our examination answers. Now, the first cost is obviously the financial cost attached to training, particularly to off-the-job training, where the business might have to fund college or university qualifications or pay external training providers to train the business's staff. So the training costs might be considerable and might be an issue for organisations that are perhaps experiencing liquidity crises or are adopting a harder approach to HR, where they're trying to minimise the costs of their workforce. We've also got the issue of lost productivity in the short term with training as well. So when employees are receiving training, sometimes even if it's on the job training, there can be a loss of productivity. So as employees are either watching other workers inside the organisation in the case of on the job training, or in off the job training where they're actually not in the workplace for a period of time and are receiving training outside of the organisation, they are not going to be productive. They are not going to be producing any work for the business, which is okay in the long run because they may be improving their skills. But in the short run, that's work that the business is missing out on, even though the employee is being paid whilst they're being trained. The other cost of training is what might happen with employees once they have received their training. Again, particularly with off-the-job training. Because if employees have received training and now have additional skills, maybe they've even gained a new qualification, they might be in a position to bargain for higher wages or salaries. And the firm, in order to keep them inside the organisation, might have to increase its labour costs and reward these workers for the training that they've completed through remunerating them with greater pay. So that's obviously going to increase the firm's costs. But there's also an alternative cost that if the business doesn't pay employees greater remuneration rates after they've received training, they might actually lose these employees, potentially even to rival organisations. So we have the problem where the business has paid for training for employees, but may not actually realise the fruits of that training because employees will take the new skills that they've gained and take them to alternative businesses that are prepared to pay them higher rates of pay. So there's definitely costs attached to training, and we need to know both the costs and the benefits as well as the different types of training for our exam. Hopefully that tutorial will equip us with that knowledge. We'll see you soon for some more Taking the Biz. Good luck with your revision.